Publius Nigidius Figulus was a scholar of the late Roman Republic and one of the praetors for 58 BC. He was a friend of Cicero, to whom he gave his support at the time of the Catilinarian conspiracy. Nigidius sided with the Optimates in the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompeius Magnus. Among his contemporaries, Nigidius's reputation for learning was second only to that of Varro. Even in his own time, his works were regarded as often abstruse, perhaps because of their esoteric Pythagoreanism, into which Nigidius incorporated Stoic elements. Jerome calls him Pythagoricus a magus, a Pythagorean and mage, and in the medieval and Renaissance tradition he is portrayed as a magician, diviner, or occultist. His vast works survive only in fragments preserved by other authors. Political career. By 63 BC, Nigidius had been admitted to the Senate. He may have been aedile in 60 BC, when Cicero mentions that Nigidius was in a position to cite a jury, or a tribune of the plebs in 59. He was praetor in 58, but no further official capacity is recorded for him until he serves as a legate 52-51 BC in Asia under Quintus Minucius Thermus. He left the Asian province in July 51. Arnaldo Momigliano tried to explain the apparent contradictions between Nigidius's active political career and his occult practices. Even Varro, though schooled in the Stoicism of Aelius Stylo and in skeptical Antiochian Platonism, requested a Pythagorean funeral for himself. The 19th-century historian Theodore Mommsen compared the occult interests of the late Republic to the spirit-rapping and table-moving that fascinated men of the highest rank and greatest learning. In the Victorian era, Pythagoreanism was not associated with a particular political point of view at Rome. Nigidius remained staunchly among the conservative Republicans of the Senate, but Publius Vatinus, the other best-known Pythagorean among his political contemporaries, was a fierce and long-term supporter of Caesar. The three eminent Roman intellectuals of the mid-1st century BC, Cicero, Varro, and Nigidius, supported Pompeius in the civil war. Caesar not only showed clemency toward Varro, but recognized his scholarly achievements by appointing him to develop the public library at Rome. Both Cicero and Varro wrote nearly all their work on religion under Caesar's dictatorship, but despite Cicero's rather inept and embarrassed efforts, Nigidius died in exile before obtaining a pardon. Scholarship. According to Cicero, Nigidius tried with some success to revive the doctrines of Pythagoreanism, which would have included mathematics, astronomy and astrology, and arcana of the magical tradition. He is supposed to have foretold the greatness of Octavian, the future Augustus, on the day of his birth. Apuleius records that, by the employment of magic boys, he helped to find a sum of money that had been lost. His commentary I Grammatici in at least 29 books was a collection of linguistic, grammatical and antiquarian notes. Nigidius viewed the meaning of words as natural, not created by humans. He paid special attention to orthography, and sought to differentiate the meanings of grammatical cases of like ending by distinctive marks. The apex to indicate the long vowel was once incorrectly attributed to him, but has now been proven to be older. In etymology he tried to find a Roman explanation of words where possible. For example, he derived frater from fear alter, practically another. Quintilian speaks of a rhetorical treatise Digestu by him. The scholarly approach of the commentary I may be compared to that of Varro in its combination of grammatical subjects and antiquarianism, but Nigidius's esoteric and scientific interests distinguish him. Known titles of his works include 2 books on the celestial sphere, one on the Greek system and the other on barbarian or non-Greek systems, a surviving fragment of which indicates that he treated Egyptian astrology astrology. His astrological work drew on the Etruscan tradition and influenced Martianus Capella, though probably through an intermediary source. Nigidius also wrote on the winds and on animals. His works on theology and other religious topics such as divination included the Dies, an examination of various cults and ceremonials, and treatises on divination and the interpretation of dreams. The literary historian Gian Biagio Conte notes that the number of his fragments that has come down to us does not correspond to the general admiration felt by posterity for this interesting scholar, philosopher, scientist, magician, and attributes this loss to the vastness and especially the obscurity of the works. Additions. The fragments of Nigidius's works are collected by Swoboda P. Nigidii Figuli Operum Reliquiae, with questions Nigidiani, a long and very useful introduction in Latin. Swoboda includes a conspectus of sources for the fragments.